This is a special edition of the BiggerPockets Podcast, show 421.
You're listening to BiggerPockets Radio, simplifying real estate for investors large and small. If you're here looking to learn about real estate investing without all the hype, you're in the right place. Stay tuned and be sure to join the millions of others who have benefited from BiggerPockets.com, your home for real estate investing online.
What's going on, everyone? It's Brandon Turner, host of the BiggerPockets Podcast, here with a very special show because we are bringing back someone that you probably have no idea who it is if you haven't been listening to the show in the last year. Welcome back to the Sea Shed, Mr. Josh Dorkin.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, and of course, David Green's still here as well.
What's up, Dave?
Hey, guys. Thanks for remembering me.
I mean, this just... It doesn't feel right, man. Dave, you're talking about my lack of relevance. Brandon is...
Yeah, making fun of nobody knows you.
It's just, it's awful.
Yeah, it's been a few years. So for those who are brand new to the show, let me give you a quick rundown. So Josh Dorkin started BiggerPockets back in 1912, and he built it in his basement for 45 years before he finally wised up and decided to hire somebody smart and good looking and talented.
And then I fired them.
And then he hired that guy. Then he hired me. And so early on, I came on at BiggerPockets. Josh and I, one of the first things we did is we launched a little show called the BiggerPockets Podcast, which... do you remember our goal was within the first year we wanted to be in the top? I said I want to be in the top 100 of all business podcasts within the first year, and it took 12 seconds, and
it was pretty fast.
It's been a ride since then.
Yeah,
so
man.
Anyway, thanks for starting BP.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been fun, and I'm excited to be back. Last show we did was Jesse Itzler.
I
think January of last year.
Yeah, that's been a while.
Yeah, was it last year or 2 years ago?
I don't know. It's been a while. I think it's 2 years ago, actually.
It's been a minute.
I think so, yeah, because I don't think you've been on since BPCon last year.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Speaking of BPCon last year.
Yes.
Today's actually episode, we are going to be revisiting Josh's speech from last year BPCon in a little bit. First, we're going to chat with Josh.
It was a keynote. It wasn't just a speech.
It was your keynote. Sorry.
I mean, give me some credit.
All right, your keynote. I love how Josh is the keynote at his own conference. Whatever. We're not gonna pick on you for that.
I didn't plan the conference. I was invited.
You were invited.
Keynote guest.
Yes,
it was very nice.
This is true.
You were recruited to give a keynote speech. You were pursued,
yes.
Highly sought after.
Highly sought after.
Right. I just got up there and talked. Josh, he gave a keynote.
Yes.
That needs to be shared.
There you go. Thank you, David. David's getting a bonus.
Yes. All right. Well, before we get into today's show, we're going to find out what Josh has been up to. We're going to talk a little bit about COVID. We're going to talk about his kind of what the crazy last year has been for him. Let's get to today's quick tip. All right. Today's quick tip is brought to you by Josh. Josh, take it away.
Way to put me on the spot. Holy Moses.
Yeah, what's your quick
Today's quick tip is... Oh, my God. Let's see. All right. If you're a BiggerPockets listener and you have not yet created an account on BiggerPockets, because there's a lot of you guys who just love the show and are out here listening, trying to pick up information, I highly recommend creating an account on BiggerPockets so you can start networking and getting access to everything that BiggerPockets provides, because there's a lot of you who don't actually know that BiggerPockets is not just a podcast. It's also a website and community. So check it out.
Let me ask you, Josh.
Yeah.
Why should somebody create an account on BiggerPockets? What does that do for them?
Oh, wow. Well,
Do we send them money? Give them massages? What?
I don't know what you do. But Dave here certainly gives massages.
Yes. He's got to go with it.
You have to just send him a friend request.
Yep.
Wait, no, this isn't Tinder. No,
just swipe right. Is that we should be a swipe left?
Right,
Yeah, we should have that option on BP. Yep. Oh, they've only done 3 deals. Swipe left. Oh, burr. Swipe right.
So you would create an account so that you can actually start to network with people. It's amazing how many people over the years have created accounts, started to make friends, colleagues, connections, build their business on the platform. It's not just about observing conversations that are happening in the community, but to be able to engage, you actually can start to build your own personal brand. And by creating your own personal brand, obviously you can start to build your business as well. So
have you noticed that theme lately? I mean, David specifically, because we've been hosting this podcast now. I feel like the last dozen guests we've interviewed have all said somehow we've gotten into networking and your personal brand with every single person pretty much. Everyone just keeps talking about the importance of networking, getting out there, talking to people, getting to know people. Have you noticed that too?
Yeah, and we talked about this briefly when we had our last guest on, the author of Essentialism. When Greg was discussing, or we kind of brought up the point that technology is trying to push people out of real estate. It's essentially trying to replace people in some form, but relationships are not something that can ever be replaced. So the people that are doing very good in real estate right now have doubled, tripled, quadrupled down on relationship, their integrity, understanding what they're doing, coming up with win-win solutions for other people, and they're drawing opportunities to them. And the people that sort of had a transactional based approach, they're just being out transacted by technology.
Yeah. And we're talking about Greg McKeon. That's an episode. I think that still comes out in a few weeks. I don't think that's been released yet. I'm not sure. Kevin decides when these episodes
He's
come
awesome.
out. Either way, great episode. So, very cool stuff. So that is today's not so quick tip. Josh, the last 2 years, a lot of people know that you were on the podcast for years, for what, six-ish years.
I created it.
Yep, you created it, and then something happened in your life. Dave showed up at some point and kicked you out.
Put his police gun to my head.
Exactly, that's what cops do.
I'm just kidding. This is my show.
And
look at me, I am the captain now.
Yeah. So you left, and you're going to tell the story of what happened today on the podcast. We're going to hear that story as we play your keynote, not your speech, your keynote speech from BPCon. It's a phenomenal story, a sad story with a good ending. I will say that. I'll tease this a little bit. And it ended up with you actually sitting in my sea shed here out in Hawaii.
It's a little hot and
It is a little getting hot and steamy in here. Yeah.
It's kind of nasty.
Yeah, it's a little gross. So I got some sweat. But that's what happens when you're in Hawaii. So Josh is now, him and I, the other day, Josh and I, true story, Josh and I were sitting there out at this beach with Frank and with Frank.
Yes.
And we were sitting there surfing together, watching whales breach out in the water like a mama and a baby. And we're just looking at each other how did we get here?
Yeah.
This is crazy. And today's keynote is kind of how we got there, I guess. Especially how you kind of got here.
I think it's the mindset behind it, right? Or at least it's more what do you do when opportunity presents itself, for example, right? And so how did we get here where we are in time, and how did we get here where we are physically? I mean, you would not be here in Hawaii if not for BiggerPockets. Correct. I would not be in Hawaii if not for BiggerPockets. I think it's really important that we dive into what I dive into in my keynote. The idea of just seizing opportunity and not letting other people kind of dictate the terms of the life that you want to live for yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Because we all go through life having all these influences starting from our parents, right? Our parents are telling us, do this, don't do that. You get to school, suddenly your peers, dictate through various forms of influence how you should act or not act, bullying or whatever it is, right? And that's how we all live our life, right? We all make our decisions based upon those external influences until some point. Now, you can make a decision, right? At each step along the way, I'm going to allow these influences to dictate how I go, or you can make that decision and say, you know what, I'm going to take control of my life. And so that's kind of what we dive into here. I'll give an example. Whoa. Some magical sound just popped up on the computer. It was very fancy, illuminating. An example might be, I know that my two buddies are throwing a party, and I really want to be there because I'll be the cool kid, but my parents say absolutely not, and so. I have this choice, right? Do I go and seize the opportunity to go and have fun, or do I, do something that's against what my parents are talking about? I mean, that's one level, but at another level, as in a career, which is what we more specifically talk about, decisions that you make as an adult, you have the same influence, right? My parents, when I graduated from college, I had to tell them at some point, hey, mom and dad, I'm moving back into the house for a little while because I want to be an actor, right? And what do you think they said?
I'm going to guess they didn't love that.
No, they weren't happy, right? Aren't you supposed to go to law school?
Well, yeah.
Josh, be a lawyer, be a doctor. Dave, that is a good impression of my mom.
That was good.
That was impressive. So, now I have that influence, right? So I have to move forward making a decision based upon the fact that I'm either going to stand up for myself and do what I want to do, or I'm going to disappoint somebody.
Yeah.
Right. And so we all make those choices as we move along, and it may not be our parents. Oftentimes it is. I would ask you, Brandon and Dave, have you ever made a career decision that disappointed a parent? That's a yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. But you made it regardless, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what was
Well, they told me not to go to BP. They said that Josh Dorkin guy, yeah, he's got something wrong with
I'm
him.
glad you didn't listen to him. I'm glad you didn't. So what was it that helped you make that decision, or what was it that made you make the decision to go over or violate that kind of want of somebody else?
I'd say deep down, I knew what I needed to do, which is exactly what your keynote's about today, right?
Nicely done. How about you, Dave?
That was my tease for your speech.
It was good.
Yeah, I had such a strong desire. It felt like God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, was saying, this is what I have for you. And that to say no to that felt wrong, more wrong than to disappoint my parents. It was being a police officer. No, obviously no mother wants their child to go be a cop. And my dad straight up told me, are you telling me to hurry up and finish
No,
it?
keep going.
Oh, that's what that is?
That was awkward.
I got a dog barking. I'm muting it.
That
So
was
keep
super
going.
awkward.
Sorry,
No,
I was trying to give you the
wrap
keep
it up,
going.
dude. No one wants to
No,
hear your
sorry.
stupid story.
Sorry. No, sorry. Say it again. Sorry, say it again. We'll edit that out. The dog was just flipping out and freaking out.
His
so
finger was
I had to
getting
mute
real
it.
close to me. It was
Yes,
awkward.
it was weird. let's just go back.
Brandon's fingers screwing things up so bad. It's so funny. Okay, give me a minute to get composed. I need that little take two, the clap.
Yeah,
fit
take two.
we were talking about. Yeah, for me, it was being a police officer. Obviously, no mother wants their child to go out and work the streets as a cop. And my dad straight up told me, you're not tough enough to make it as a cop. And that was always kind of a challenging relationship in my life, was the way that my dad looked at me. And I had this really strong feeling inside, like this is what I'm meant to do. And even though other people were saying don't, it felt more wrong to say no to that feeling than it did to let down my parents, which is also a very strong instinct that you have as a kid. And it was like a turning point for me where I knew I'm either going to do this with everything I have or I'm not going to do it. You can't really halfway something like this. And I think that maybe for me, that resistance to that plan forced me to double down on how much I was going to give to it, and really served me well in the career. And it's funny you say this, because it was a very similar feeling when it came to real estate investing. All those same people were saying, why would you do that? Everyone loses money. That's such a bad idea. It's safer to go be a doctor, go be a lawyer. And it was that same, but something feels like this is the right move for me. So, and this is, I mean, it's a really important thing. We don't talk about it as often on a podcast like this, but that why, that feeling that's driving people is an incredibly powerful part of this whole process to finding financial freedom.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny when you say that. I think about when I started BiggerPockets, I had no support. The only support I had was Julie, my wife, and that is one of the things that a lot of startup guys finally acknowledge and realize is, they're often alone with the support of their spouse, because really without the support of your spouse, you can't really move forward. And that's why we've had so many conversations over the years on the podcast about, so how'd you get your spouse, how'd you get your partner to come in and come along on this? But it all dives back to the same thing, right? And that's the thing with real estate as well, especially, it's frowned down upon by so many, or it just seems so risky and so scary for people who don't understand it, right? And so taking that leap and making that decision that, hey, I'm going to try something that everybody I know thinks is kind of crazy and out of the box. That ultimate decision can be the decision between moving forward in early retirement or being locked in on a job that you don't like for the rest of your life. And that's what we talk about a lot. What I talk about in the speech is
the keynote.
It was a keynote. There were 1,000 people at that keynote. I'm just saying.
There's 250,000 listening right now, Josh.
Wow.
Let's calm down.
I'm scared. No, but I think that's the important thing, right? Is you need to find it within yourself to find a cause, a purpose, some kind of inner drive that, like what Dave talked about, that's your decision and your call, and you can't let all the other noise dictate what you're going to do. You've got to believe in, and trust in yourself and your own decisions in order to move forward. And so we talk about that. We also talk about some, deeply, deeply personal family stuff with my daughter. And we talk about some other crazy revelations about, just a nutty story of finding my origins. So yeah, it's interesting.
You touching your roots. It's good. That's good.
That's all I touch.
All right. With that said, we are 20-some minutes into this thing. So why don't we? We could talk for an hour. We should just bring you back more often just to talk. We could talk for hours.
I'm not doing anything.
All right.
So invite me in, man.
All right. Next time we'll do one out in the ways while we're whale hunting. It'll be great.
Oh yeah.
All right,
We're not actually hunting whales.
We're not actually hunting whales. No, we are simply out there trying to spot them in our on our little paddle boards.
Yeah.
It's been a good time.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Well, I don't know. David, anything you want to add before we get into today's keynote speech?
I remember when I listened to Josh giving this speech, it had very little to do with real estate, and it was probably still the most impactful speech of the entire conference.
Everyone said that, yeah.
It was the quietest you've ever heard that many people at one time. It was eerie how, I remember thinking if someone was texting on their phone right now, you'd hear their fingers hitting the screen of it. So if you heard that speech, try to go back to what you felt when you were hearing it and how it moved you and motivated you to come back from that conference and double down on getting through your obstacles. And if this is your first time hearing it, let it move you. Let it, like a wave in the ocean, carry you with more gusto towards the obstacles that we all face. Real estate investing is not something you get into without obstacles. We do it because there are obstacles, because that allows opportunity. And so anything you can grab that kind of gives you momentum or motivation to push through those is really valuable. So that's what I'm hoping people take out of the speech.
That's great. Now, I'll just add, and if you have no interest in real estate investing at all, hopefully it influences you and how you live your life. And I would just say if folks, after listening to this, I would love to, hear your take and your feedback. And
where's the best place to hit you at?
The best place is probably Twitter. I'm at JR Dorkin. That's at JRDORKIN.
What does R stand for?
Reed, not
Reed.
Richard.
Josh Reed.
Not Richard.
Not Richard like mine. We both have an R middle name.
do.
What's your middle name, David?
Not speaking.
Josephine.
I always try to throw that in there. Get him to say it. Yeah, he never says it. Well, Mr. J.R. Dorkin. And,
or just you could add JoshuaDorkin.com.
or you can call him. His number is...
Let's see how this goes for Brandon and his career path.
Yeah, there we go. All right, y'all. Well, with that said, let's get to today's keynote from Mr. Josh Dorkin, founder and host of BiggerPockets.
The Godfather.
Oh, I do want to say this. Josh had COVID. After the show, we're going to talk to Josh about what that was like, because I want to know what that was like. So, but I want to get to the show now. But we'll talk about him and his family's experience with COVID right afterwards. Let's get to the episode.
Hello, Detroit. Good. Now we can move on. All right. So when the team asked me to come out and speak today, I pushed back a little bit. I was like, I don't know, things. I'm transitioning. I'm moving towards the next stage of my life. And my wife came up to me and she said, Josh, this is an opportunity to share a story that a lot of people want to hear. A lot of people care. You've been out there. You've put yourself out there for all these years. You've given back to all these people. And now it's time for you to kind of wrap things up, put a little bow on it, and let people feel good that life is going okay for you. And then you can also teach them a couple lessons while you're at it. And I said, okay, push back, push. And finally she convinced me, and I was like, all right, very excited. So I'm happy to be here. I am going to be telling you a fairly emotional story. So if I lose it, The entire BiggerPockets team is already expecting this to happen. They know that I like to cry. So, whatever. Takes a big guy to cry. I'm a big guy. Giraffe, remember? Giraffe. So, my speech today is actually, though, you know what to do. This morning I was having breakfast with somebody who was on the podcast, and he was talking about his business, and he was talking about how he's known for the last year and a half that he needed to hire somebody to be his property manager. He's known this for a year and a half, and he hasn't done anything about it. Who here has known for a year and a half that they had to do something but didn't do it? Okay, just making sure. I got the right audience. All right, so let's start with this quote here. I am the wisest man alive, for I know one thing, and that is that I know nothing. A lot of you guys turn and you look at me, Brandon, Jay, all these brilliant speakers up here, all these wonderful people, all the people within the community. And one of the things that stood out to me when I started BiggerPockets was there was this group of people who were teaching real estate education. And they knew everything. They knew exactly how you had to run your business. They know exactly what you needed to do, the path you had to take. But guess what? They didn't know anything. They were selling you on that. You have your own path. You have your own path. You have your own path. We all have our own paths. And we have to figure out how that path is going to work. And there's not any single person that is out there that's going to tell you this is what you have to do. You have to figure that out for yourself. So for starters, please don't listen to anybody who thinks they know everything about everything, because they don't. And if their ego is so big that they think so, you want to move on and learn from somebody else. So, what have you been up to for the last few years? Kind of fell off the earth, right? Josh was there, he was out and about, and all of a sudden, I disappeared. Now, a lot of you guys know I'm on the podcast. I've been running the site for 14 years, and out of the blue, we had this family tragedy. We had these things happen, but haven't been super forthcoming in everything just for privacy purposes. Really wanted to kind of deal with stuff. I'm going to talk a little bit about that, but before I do, I'm going to dive into a very brief history of BiggerPockets. BiggerPockets was founded almost 15 years ago. I believe it's 15 years ago in the next week or so. It'll be our 15-year birthday. I was teaching special ed, high school in Los Angeles. I had a brief failed career in the entertainment business. Wasn't that failed. I got to sport this amazing mohawk, which is obviously sexier than the one that you saw yesterday. Obviously. The homeless man in the middle there, that was actually me in a film. That was not what happened to me as a result of teaching special ed for 4 years. And the last photo is actually me in the very first stages of BiggerPockets on that big old iMac, and just kicking things off. So early days, I'm investing in real estate. Things are, really exciting, and I'm starting to make mistakes, and I need help. And I look out, and I can't find anything to help me that I feel like I can trust. And I say, all right, you know what? Let me see what I can do. Let me see if I can build something on the side. Now, mind you, back in the day, I had been building websites for fun. I was like, all right, let's see what I can do, right? So I'm investing, I'm teaching, and nights, weekends, in between classes, I start my side hustle. So who here started their real estate business as a side hustle? All right. All of a sudden, my side hustle hobby starts to take over my life. Here I am, not in my boxer shorts, unfortunately. The rumors are not true. But here I am in my living room. All of a sudden, I've transitioned. I've quit my job teaching high school. I moved to Colorado. I got married. And this is pretty much how I spent my days in between feeding a baby and taking care of them and doing all these other things. I did that for 8 years. So for 8 years, first 2 years were while I was teaching. Next 6 years, I worked 100-hour weeks. Every single week, relentlessly. When my children were born, I had my laptop in the hospital. When my kids were sick, I had my laptop in the hospital. When I traveled, I had my laptop, not in the hospital, wherever I was. Hopefully it wasn't the hospital. So I went 8 years without taking a single day off. I worked 7 days a week, 365 days a year for 8 years. Who here thinks that's a healthy thing to do? Thank you. Good. All right. Not super smart. I burnt out and realized that I needed to change. I needed to do something different. So I decided it was time to hire and went forth and hired this skinny little boy. Handsome, without facial hair. You really got to lose the beard, man. And things changed very quickly. Things changed very, very, very quickly. We launched a podcast. Who here listens to the BiggerPockets podcast? Yeah. We launched a book business. Who here has read a BiggerPockets book? Yeah. All of a sudden, we could start scaling. I didn't have to work 100 hours a week. It was awesome. I was working 95. My hair was falling out less quickly. Things continue to scale, things continue to scale, things continue to grow, and all of a sudden, I have enough money to hire the next person, my next employee. All of a sudden, I have a team. So, before we go further, I'd like everybody here to give a rousing round of applause for the entire BiggerPockets team. Stand up, guys. BP, stand up. Come on. These guys are unbelievable. And they're not all here. The whole team isn't here. We've actually got somebody down with food poisoning, unfortunately. And then there's folks back home and otherwise, but these guys are amazing. So this is a photo of the early team. You got Brandon. Next to Brandon, who knows who John Holdman is? One hand. So John Holman, the guy with the funny beard, he was our first moderator. He was literally one of the first 100 people on the site and continued to stay with us for years and years and years and years as a moderator. Then you got Scott next to him. You got this guy, Hillary Catton, the most amazing customer support person on earth, Allison Leung, and that was Rob, our head of engineering for a very, very long time. So the team starts growing. We start scaling. We hire some phenomenal employees still with us today. And then we made some mistakes. We didn't hire all amazing people. We learned. We screwed up. And it was okay. It was okay. But we continue to scale this business. And little by little, this thing got a life of its own. Overnight success, right? Year 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We're at 30-something employees. The business is growing. We're catering to you guys, hopefully. And things are going great. But then, I needed to step away. I needed to step away because life forced me to. But here's the thing. I probably should have done that sooner. So in 2017, I had 3 panic attacks. One sec. I'm not having one now. Don't worry about it. I had 3 panic attacks. I get emotional. I had 3 panic attacks. And I don't know if anyone here has had them. And if you have, you don't have to raise your hand. But who here has had some form of anxiety or panic attack? It's scary. It's scary. And my panic attacks, I knew in my heart and I knew in my soul that my body was telling me something. But I didn't listen. And I kept going. And I'm not 20 anymore. A panic attack at 20 is one thing. A panic attack in your 40s, suddenly you're having a heart attack. I got 3 kids. Life is not worth it. Let me continue forward. BiggerPockets was in this stage where I had to step aside, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But then we move on to this next stage. So as I step aside, somebody had to step in my interim, and this drunken man here Scott Trench, everybody, CEO of BiggerPockets. By the way, that is Scott sitting in the first row of first class next to me. I think that was the only time I've ever flown first class. Scott's rocking his gym shorts. He's got his sandals on, I think. And I don't know how you can quite fall asleep like that. Don't ever let him forget that. So, if you've never seen this before, these are the core values that we've established for BiggerPockets. Family over everything. Serve others with purpose. Build authentic relationships. Be insatiably curious. Keep things fun and get it done. Challenge what's possible and value unique perspectives. By the way, if you have not written core values for your business, I thought it was a bunch of bullshit until we went and did it. And this proved to be one of the most important exercises we've ever done. Back to Allison, who really helped take the lead on this, Allison Leung, and worked with me very closely, and the rest of the team. This was extremely important for us and has helped to guide the business forward, and will continue to help guide the business forward. So the ironic thing is, the top thing there says family over everything. Here's the problem. I was putting BiggerPockets over everything instead of family over everything. I was trying, but you do that long enough, and it takes its toll. Something wasn't right, and I just ignored it. So that's me, that's my business. In your business, I guarantee every single one of you has something happening in your business that you know you need to do. And it's usually the big scary thing. And you sit and you wait and you procrastinate. And say, I'm going to get there one day. I'm going to do it. Let me knock these little easy things out, because they're easy. And then you wait. And guess what happens? You never do the big scary thing. And it's the big scary thing that helps you to move forward. It's the big scary thing that brings you progress in your business and in your life. Now, in my case, I was just working relentlessly. What movie is this from? All right, good. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Well, I was becoming a dull boy, and I wasn't aware of it. I didn't even realize it. November 2017, November 27th, 2017. I've got 3 little girls who are amazing, amazing wife. My eldest, Zoe, up until this point, had, I believe it's 6 surgeries. She got salmonella when she was 3, spent 8 days in isolation in the hospital. We thought she was going to die. She tonsillectomy, adenoidectomy, and she had 2 eye muscle surgeries to straighten her eyes out. She had something called strabismus, so kind of like a lazy eye. So they do these eye muscle surgeries. They detach one of the muscles. There's an outer, inner. They detach one. They move it like millimeters, and then reattach it. Suddenly your eyes are straight and your brain's like, cool, we're going to keep your eyes corrected. 80% success rate. Well, we were in the 20% the first time, and then 20% the next time. November 27th, 2017, we took her in for her 3rd eye muscle surgery. It's a routine surgery, in and out. We had done it twice before. We knew what we were in for. And so, I took the day off of work to take care of her. And we did the surgery, and we took her home, and we knew the next day she'd wake up, her eyes would both be open, and she'd be fine. Except the next day she woke up, and her eye did not open. So I didn't go into work. And the next day, and the next day. By Wednesday, so Monday was the surgery. By Wednesday, we knew something just really wasn't right. We had called the doctor on Tuesday. He said, wait. Wednesday, he said, let me see her. We brought her in. He said, I think she might have an infection. Her face had started to swell up. Thursday, it didn't get any better. She's on antibiotics. Friday, it's getting worse. We go in again. Now things have picked up. We are going to need to admit her to the hospital. So they admit her to the hospital. They put her on IV antibiotics. And these IV antibiotics are obviously going to hopefully help take this infection away. The problem is your eye is really close to your brain. And an infection can spread very quickly from your eye to your brain. So they watched her. And what they told us was, Josh, and Julie, we think there's a chance we may have to do a surgery. Well, this is scary. This is really scary. They decide that we're going to just wait and watch her. Saturday comes. We may take her in this afternoon. We may not. We're not sure. Imagine the waiting, right? Imagine thinking, hey, any second this thing could go into my kid's brain. What are you going to do? Sunday comes. By the way, Julie is homesick. She cannot be in the hospital. I'm alone. She's got my 2 kids. I'm with Zoe. And all of a sudden, the doctors come in Sunday morning. A second doctor we hadn't met comes in, and she says, it's time. So come with us. So we go downstairs. They roll her down into the surgical area. There's not a single person there. It's a Sunday. They don't do surgeries on Sunday. They wheel her downstairs. They bring us into this room, and they say, they start prepping her, and they say, we're going to take her off. Now, when they take kids for surgery, normally it's a calm, relaxing thing, as scary as it is, and the parent gets to go into the room with them. Well, once we went downstairs and they prepped us, they rushed her off. She was crying. She was freaked. I was crying. I was freaked. No info on how long it was going to take. No info on what was going to happen. Off she went. As I pace here nervously, I did the same that day for the next 2+ hours. in a hospital waiting area with no doctors, no nurses, no patients, no parents, nobody, just by myself. They finally came out, by the way, unimaginable fears, scenarios spinning through your head. They come out, we did the surgery, she's going to be okay. We had to cut into her eyeball. We had to drain the fluid out of her eyeball. And we found all this necrotic, dead tissue in her eyeball. Scary. Is she going to see again? Is she going to be okay? Yes, she is. Okay. So she's going to be okay. Everything's going to be great. They admit us, but we're back in the hospital. We're there for the next few days, and she's doing okay. But there's kind of some weird stuff happening, and I couldn't quite explain it. And the doctors kind of poo-pooed everything I was saying and everything my wife was saying. Now, I don't know if there's any physicians in here, and no offense to anything I'm going to say, but a lot of doctors are full of shit. The challenge is unlike my first quote, they know everything. And the challenge is there's oftentimes difficulty in admitting that you don't know everything. And so when we had these weird things happen, everybody kind of poo-pooed us, the whole team poo-pooed us, and they actually sent us home. So we went home a few days later and nervously agreed to do so. And we were happy, we were excited. Her eyes still closed, but we're home. And then the next day, still kind of acting funny. And then the next day. Zoe, what are you doing? Nothing. Zoe, what are you doing? Nothing. Why are you walking funny? I'm not. It was too late in the day. We called the doc. He said, just watch it, wait till tomorrow. If nothing changes, bring her in. We tentatively agreed. The next day came. We brought her to the emergency room. It was Saturday. She wasn't walking anymore. They scanned her, checked her brain, checked her eyeball, poo-pooed us all along the way. Everything's going to be okay. We don't see anything wrong. She can't walk. What do you mean there's nothing wrong? We think it's something in the brain. Well, she didn't have anything in the brain before she went into the surgery. What did you do? What happened? We think it's this thing. Go see your primary care doctor on Monday. It's Saturday. Excuse me. So they send us home. For the next 48 hours, I've got a kid who can't walk, can't hold her torso up anymore. And I have zero answers. and I have doctors telling me everything's going to be okay. Imagine that feeling, that absolute terror that you go through. We went into the doc. Doc says, "This is horrifying. We're sorry. We need to bring in the psychologist. We think there may be something from a psychological standpoint." And then they make this ruling. They say, "Hey, we think it's this. We got to get you into the hospital." They start calling the hospital. Hospital says, "We're not going to admit her." They continue to call. We start calling. They're not going to admit us. Tuesday comes. Same thing. Wednesday comes. Same thing. Thank goodness I have political aspirations, and I've befriended several politicians in my area, and I have some friends who are on the board of the hospital. I call, I say, tell them my story, what's going on, and within an hour, we get admitted to the hospital. So, let me stand on my soapbox for a second here. That's bullshit, and no one deserves that, and that is absolutely one of the biggest reasons our healthcare needs to be reformed. Absolutely insanity. Because I'm lucky, privileged, and connected is no reason that my kid should get treated better than anyone else. And it goes further because they made a diagnosis. They diagnosed her with something called conversion disorder, a condition in which a person has blindness, paralysis, or other nervous system neurologic symptoms that cannot be explained by medical evaluation. The recovery ratio on conversion disorder is not very good. And there's a reason for it. It's costly to treat. And there's not really a great explanation for it yet. So in the case of Zoe, she's in the hospital, and over the next couple days, her legs aren't working, her torso's not working. Her eyes are already closed. She can't hold her head up anymore. And she stops being able to use her arms. They give us this bullshit explanation, which is we ruled everything else out. We got nothing left to call it. This is an actual disorder, by the way, conversion disorder. But they're going to find out in 10 or 20 years that conversion disorder is one of like 30 things. They rule her with conversion. I don't believe it. One day, I'm laying in bed with her in the hospital. She's sleeping. It's the middle of the night. She sits up. Wait. She lays back down. We thought there was something physically wrong with her. Well, my daughter was a sleepwalker. She would wake up in the middle of the night and walk around and talk and blabber. All of a sudden, I bought into it. We now knew that it wasn't something physical, that it was something psychological. We actually bought into conversion disorder. Start making phone calls while we're at the hospital. They give her a little bit of treatment here and there because that's what they do, because they're just not equipped unless they're a specialty facility, which there was one in Rhode Island. It would cost us like $75,000 to put her on an ambulance plane to get her there because she can't hold her body up. She can't get treated at lots of the facilities because she could not bathroom herself because she could not hold her body up. And she could not get the full level of care that she absolutely deserved because of her condition. And so we started making calls, talked to some experts, and decided it was time to get her the hell out of the hospital. We needed to bring her home. We needed to put her in a normal, regular home environment, and we were going to build a team. We were gonna overcome the statistics on this, and we were gonna win. Family above all else. Well, I finally started following that. %50. 50%. Those are really scary numbers. So we've got our plan together. We build our team. 7 days a week of occupational therapy. 7 days a week of physical therapy in the home. Therapy weekly. We started seeing a psychiatrist. I turned my living room into a gymnasium. There were mats on the floor. I got one of these electrical, bike things that you click they're for all the old people. You click it and, it automatically does this for you, right? We strap her in and let her go. We didn't want her to atrophy, right? We worked on her body. We worked on her mind every single day. My full-time job was to care for this child. And that is what I did. So this is Zoe in therapy, trying to learn how to use her legs. Unimaginable fear. I thought my daughter could be a paraplegic for life. We worked with her constantly, relentlessly, did not quit. In the same way that I relentlessly built this business, I now had a new focus. And it was this child. And I was not going to lose this battle. Because I don't like to lose battles, and I especially don't like to lose battles when it comes to my family. After weeks and weeks, we started to see some improvement. Before we got her out of the hospital, we actually got her hands moving. We just kept buying Lego sets. She loves Legos. So, Legos constantly. We bribed the hell out of her. Stuffies. She's got to have 300-400 stuffies. Like, move your finger an inch, you got a stuffy. You name it. This is her in school. We tried to normalize her life. 9 years old, you go from a healthy kid and all of a sudden you're in a wheelchair. I don't care how awkward you feel. You are going to school. Maybe not all day, but you're going to go in and we're going to normalize your life. We saw things get better. And little by little, there would be light at the end of the tunnel. Here's her walker, nice and decorated, blinged out. Rocked the walker for a while. And 2 weeks before the end of school, the walker was gone. August 23rd, 2019. Those of you guys who know me know I like to go out. I like to play in the woods. Getting the goods in the woods, as one of my friends likes to say. And Mount Bierstadt, August 23rd, 2019, 14,065 feet. That little girl did what the big hairy bearded guy in the back struggled to do last year with me. She made it to the top of a 14,000-foot peak in Colorado. That's her on skis. So for the last 2 years, I've spent my time with that kid, with my other kids, with my family. And in so doing, I pondered. I thought about life. I thought about death. And I mostly thought about happiness. And I read, and I read, and I tried to figure out what it is that matters. There's nothing more important than finding your happiness. Life has a way of giving you signals. In my case, I might have been working a little too hard. I was having panic attacks. I was frustrated, stressed out. Who here in their work is stressed out from time to time? That's okay. Who here gets frustrated with how things are going from time to time? Sure. Now, even a perfect business, there's going to be frustration and stress, right? But these are signs. These are symbols. These are things that are telling you maybe you got to tweak things. Maybe you got to change how you do it. Maybe you need to alter. Maybe you have to find processes. Maybe you have to simplify your business. Well, a funny thing happened. Despite stepping away to be with my family, BiggerPockets continue to grow and thrive. I guess 14 years of creating a great foundation allows something to foster and grow. BiggerPockets would be okay without me. It was time for me to start the new act. So, I'm figuring out what's next. I'm working through it. My family, things are starting to get better. We're mid-2017, and some new information comes to light. My brother calls me up, Josh, I just took a 23andMe test. Yeah. All right. Well, the girls, so he's got 2 adopted daughters. The girls really wanted to learn more about their background, their past, so we did that. And I took it, and Alex, his wife, took it. That was cool, and, got all this info and all this stuff, and our half-brother this, and the other stuff, and da-da-da. Wait, what? Half what? Yeah. Half-brother? Wait, say that again. You got a half-brother. At least that's what the site says. No, that's not possible. How could we have a half-brother? No, that doesn't work. Now let me rewind for a second here. So, when I was a year old, my dad passed away from testicular cancer. Thank goodness people don't really die from testicular cancer today, but I didn't know that. So if you've ever seen me doing things, I was scared for a really long time that I was going to die of testicular cancer. My hands were there a lot. A lot. Anyway, my dad died when I was a year old. He actually died on my brother's 4th birthday, which is crazy. But he died, and my mom remarried, and Dorkin is the name of my stepdad. He's my dad. He raised me. And so we get this information about this half-brother. Well, half-brother, dad's been dead for 40 years. We know it's not mom, because mom is a overbearing Jewish mom, And those of you who have overbearing Jewish or otherwise mothers would know that no overbearing Jewish mom would let their boy go. And so it had to be Dad. Well, maybe he had a kid before Mom, and maybe while with Mom, maybe afterwards. Uh-oh. Let's call Mom. So we call Mom. Hey, Mom. What's up? How you doing? Hi, Josh. Was that good, Brandon? That was good. Hey, Mom. So there's this whole DNA test that Dave took, and it says we got a half brother. DNA. What's that? Wasn't that bad. So do the DNA. We explain it to her and say, hey, what's the story? She denies. No, nothing. No, it's impossible. Mom, it's not possible. DNA is science. It's impossible. She hangs up. The next day we call her again. Mom, DNA. What's DNA? It's science. It's not possible. And we relented. And we relented. And out of the blue, she says, well, there's this one thing. What's the one thing, Mom? Well, your father and I couldn't have kids. We struggled. So we went to a fertility, I can't say that word, fertility, roof. It's like roof. Fertility clinic. And they took your father's stuff and they mixed it with another guy's stuff. They mixed it? What? Mom, science. Do you know how it works? What do you mean? I had to explain the ones that can swim, they're the ones that are going to win. Mom, so what you're telling me is by the way, step back for 2 seconds. The guy that I had been my birth dad, so there was like a family separation. We literally my entire life knew nothing about him or his family. So there was a hole in my life. By the way, this is a big part of my speech, so I probably shouldn't forget it. Big hole in my life. Big hole in my life. And my whole life, we are searching for this family. And we can't find this family. Well, now, all of a sudden, what the hell? So we've got this new information. We are all of a sudden not trying to figure out about my birth dad's family. We got DNA dad. Yeah. By the way, I'm going to create a new television show called My Three Dads. I think it's brilliant, where I find out about my 600 stepbrothers that I never knew about. It'll be a comedy. Anyway, I've got all this new information. I've got this giant hole in my life. And all of a sudden, the hole kind of went away. But here's the weird thing. I don't know who my bio dad is. So how did that hole go away? Well, I didn't need to search for my birth dad anymore. He was there. Sadly, in the last year of his life, as I was growing, he spent most of that time in the hospital. My father raised me, my stepdad. And the guy who allowed me to live, planted his seed, so to speak. I'm grateful. I didn't need to really figure out who he was, besides the fact that it would be close to impossible. Because I called some people and was like, hey, what are the odds? And they're like, well, you got to take a 23andMe test, and you can probably try and find the clinic, but you may have to pay lawyers a whole hell of a lot of money to open up court records on all this. And I'm like, it sounds like a lot of work. I don't care. And when I said that, I realized that I actually didn't care. This is my life. I am not my father. I am not my father. I am not my father. Hopefully there's not a fourth. I'm not my mother, my brother. I am me. And this is my life. And I'm going to live this life the way I want to live this life. And I have lived this life the way I want to live this life. And I'm proud of the way I've lived this life. I've lived a great life. And that hole is gone. And so I'm sure all of you guys have folks out there who tell you what to do. Oh, you shouldn't do that. Come on, man. You're really going to do that with your business? Really? Really? You're going to hire a property manager and not save all that money? Wait a second. You're going to flip houses? Are you crazy? Who here has heard something like that? Guess what? You are going to continue to hear something like that forever. The reason this room is so special, at least in the world of real estate, is that nobody here is going to say that to you. And if they do, go back to my second slide about people knowing more than they think they know. Right? So, this is your life. You know what you need to do. You know what's important. You know what's necessary. I love this quote. We cannot change the cards we're dealt, just how we play the hand. So I learned all this information about my 3 dads. My daughter's getting better. And as I said, I decided it was time to make a change. BiggerPockets was doing well. I needed to figure out what mattered to me again. I needed to figure out what was next. So I set forth, got together with Scott and Brandon, who at this point were pretty much running the day-to-day along with Dave and the rest of the team. Excuse me. And we put together a search. And midsummer, we found a group that we thought was going to be spectacular. We'd met lots of folks. And it was a private equity shop out of Omaha, Nebraska, a company called McCarthy Capital. McCarthy was going to come in and become my new partner. I was going to step down. 14 years of building my baby, and it was time to step away. So, along with McCarthy, we put together a board, of which I am a part. We hired a chairman of the board, Mr. Mike Zawalski. And built an incredible, incredible team. Scott Trench, our new CEO, has done a phenomenal job along with the rest of the team. I was so scared. I was so scared of letting my baby go. But I realized it was time. It was ready. And I realized that I found the right people to help continue the path of my company. So here's to the future of BiggerPockets and the amazing team that we already applauded, who's currently running it. As for me, I'm pursuing my happy. I'm spending time with my kids. I'm finding hobbies. For the first time in years, I'm getting fit. I'm getting the goods in the woods. I'm taking care of my mental health. I'm taking care of my family. And I'm focusing on me. I haven't done that in a really, really, really long time. So here's a few takeaways. 1, do not wait until life decides for you. You know what you need to do. You know what is important. Make it happen. 2, map and plan. Write down. Write down. Is it your family? What part of your family life needs help? Make a list. I have a book. That book, Monk Ferrari, actually really helped me with this. I've got a page that says family. And it's, hey, make sure I do this, write love letters to my wife. Do this with my kids. All the things I aspire to do on my family. Health. Run a 5K, did that. Run a 10K, did that. Run a marathon, haven't done that yet. Climb a 14er, I've done many of those. I actually did 4 a few weeks ago in one day. Take action. You can't just write things down, you got to do it. You got to do it. Do not wait for permission. This is your life. This is nobody else's life. It's nobody's business telling you what to do. You know what to do in your heart. I see you guys. I see the brains spinning. All of you guys. Think about all that stuff. You know in your heart what it is that you need to do. Do not wait for permission. Take action and do it. Life is short. You can die tomorrow. Gary Vaynerchuk is very famous in saying this. And whenever people text him for advice, that's his response. He's right. I like to live my life as if I'm going to die tomorrow. Well, what are you waiting for? Because you can die tomorrow, or your kid can get conversion disorder, or you can get hit by a bus. And I know it's sad, and I know it's scary, and I know 90% of you are afraid to stop and think about it. But I implore you guys to think about it. You can die tomorrow, and if you're going to die tomorrow, what the hell are you going to do today? You better start changing your life. Go out and find your path. Everybody's got their own. Figure it out. You know it. Put it down, write it, follow it, do it. Good luck to you. You guys, great quote from a very, very smart man. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Thank you very much.
Q&A 12:30 instead of now.
Okay.
So you can leave.
Another big round of applause for Joshua Dorkin. And the BiggerPockets team that he built.
All right, that was that was even better the second time around than it was the first time, Josh. You know, that was good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I know you weren't really listening the first or the second time, so you know.
I listened carefully, Josh.
Yeah.
I was not
David,
texting the whole
thank you
time.
for paying attention. I appreciate you.
Yeah, whatever.
I love that you called him out on that. It was so much better for him the second time because that was the first time. Brandon was engaged in a vigorous game of Snake on his cell phone during the entire first speech.
That was a great game, by the way. Oh my God, the countless
game.
hours I played that.
Yeah, no, it was so I worked with you. Let me be honest with you. I'm gonna be honest with you a minute here. I worked with you ahead of time on your speech, and I think 2 hours before you went on stage, you were like, I'm not really sure where I should go with this one. I'm not sure if I should tell this story. And I was like thinking, Josh is he's going to blow this. He has no idea what he's going to talk about today. And then you just came out of nowhere with an amazing speech. I was like, what? Like, cause like I think you were pretending that you had no idea what you were going to do. Like up until like a minute before we went on stage. And then you're just like, here, I'm just an awesome speaker. So anyway, I was very fearful for you. So I was not playing Snake. I was sitting there like shaking, like, Josh, don't mess up on what you're going to say here. And then you didn't. So good job.
So I had a number of stories that I had potential to go through, and essentially I had constructed this thing and, decided as things were going forward and as I kind of felt the crowd's energy or whatever, which way I was going to go with it. So yeah, I had it mostly outlined, but yeah.
We did good.
I think it turned out all right.
Well, speaking of turning out all right, I love transition phrases like that.
That was the worst.
Let's talk about COVID. Let's talk about you. So Josh here, this is back in...
How you feeling, Dave?
Like, yeah.
Speaking of COVID.
Yeah, speaking of COVID, how you feeling, David?
I'm still alive and kicking.
All right, good.
Okay.
David has a cold, but we think he probably...
Now every time you get a cold,
No,
it
every
turns
time you get a
into...
cold.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you sign your will?
Well, the fact that you're not around anybody and you got a cold magically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, David's got a cold.
Yeah.
It's if you guys seen that meme online, it's like every day I wake up now and go, is that COVID or is that what a throat feels like?
Yeah.
Like it's like, oh yeah, is that what I like? Anyway,
But that's 1,000 times worse when you have COVID and after you have COVID, just so you know.
is it? All
Oh,
right.
yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about that. I'll be honest with you again. Sometimes
This is shocking, by the way, David. He's been honest twice
in the
last conversation, which rarely happens with
yes, I'm being
Now
honest
I'm
with you.
wondering if Brandon has COVID and he's on his deathbed here, and it's...
Well, the fact
Why
that
this
I'm 2
honesty?
feet away from him
Yes, we
is
are
troubling.
Back in February, I think it was, maybe even early March. Was it
It was
March?
March.
But March when you got it. But even before that, you were the very first of anybody in my circle, of anybody I knew who was like, this is a big deal. We need a
January.
social distance. Yeah, I think it was maybe January. You were like, we need to stay inside. And you like locked your family in. And I was like, there goes Josh being Josh.
Wah, wah.
Wah, wah. Yeah. I was like, I think it's all going to blow over in like a week. And Josh will have just missed out on 3 weeks of life because he was like social. I didn't quite think that bad. But like, I assumed you were just being a little hypochondriac a little bit, I was assuming that. And then the whole world falls apart.
Yeah.
And then of everybody in my entire life that I knew, you were the first one to get COVID. Like, how did that happen?
How did that happen?
I don't even know.
That
Like,
sucked.
you must have got it from like a box from Amazon or something because
God.
you were like locked down.
So I wasn't locked down per se. I was prepping in January. I was starting to order materials.
You should see his toilet paper stack right now.
I had a lot of toilet paper.
He was that guy.
Yeah, but that was before like everyone was hoarding. I was pre-hoarding.
Yeah, you were a pre-hoarder.
But yeah, I was.
I don't know what that means.
I don't either.
This would be a show called Pre-hoarding. Pre-hoarders.
But it was scary. I was watching what was happening in China, and they were like, they were welding people into apartment buildings, and I'm like, this is not going to end well for anyone on Earth. And so far, it has not. And we're laughing about it. And obviously, it's extremely serious.
It's crazy. You had it. You weren't laughing when you were in your house.
No. So
dying.
we had a family event in Los Angeles. We were locked down at home, and there was a family event. It was a bat mitzvah, and like we had to go to this bat mitzvah. And I told Julie, my wife, I'm like, this is a terrible idea. We should not get on an airplane.
Oh, blaming the wife now.
And we got into a debate, and there was an expectation, which goes back to the speech. Yeah. There was an expectation that we needed to be there, and we had to live up to that expectation, right? And so ultimately, we relented. I did not want to, but I did it because I thought it was the right thing to do for my family.
Yep.
we relented. We got an airplane. We went to Los Angeles. We were super careful. Like, we were the only one who was like wiping the seat down and the armrests, and everybody thought we were crazy. We were not wearing masks though.
Yeah.
And obviously this is an airborne ailment here. So when we got back, we had finished our grocery shopping, and that we got back, I think it was Sunday or Monday. That Thursday or Friday was when Tom Hanks, announced that he had this disease, and suddenly like the world shut down the next day.
Yeah.
That was Friday. Sunday, I started feeling sick, and I actually started charting it because I was so worried that I had actually had it, and turns out I did, and it was pretty awful. It started feeling like kind of a cold with this weird dizziness, and had lots of pretty much every symptom. I lost my smell. I lost my sense of taste. I had the low-grade annoying fevers for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. After week 2, I developed the lung stuff and this cough that just wouldn't go away. I finally stopped charting after, I think it was 94 days. So I was what they call a long hauler. But that was the early days. That was when like going to the hospital was a death sentence, right? Anybody who would go into the hospital, you were probably going to die.
Did you go in?
And no, but I was sick, and then I got to this point where there were 2 days, everybody in my house got it. There were 2 days where Julie and I could not get off the couch. We got up from our bed, got down to the couch. Like, we could not do anything else. Our kids made all 3 meals for us. We had a 6, 8, and 11, 10-year-old. And they prepared 3 meals a day for 2 days for us, for all 5 of us. We couldn't do anything. And it got to a point where I think the worst thing was I was really struggling breathing. I was coughing. I had no energy, and, really could barely do anything. And I freaked out, and I was like, shit, the next thing I've got to do, I'm going to have to check myself in the hospital, and I kind of started having and I talked about on the show, panic attacks. I talked about in the keynote here today about these panic attacks I had. The last time I had a panic attack was before everything in the speech. The next time, and I've not had one since, was when COVID hit. I thought I was going to die. I legitimately was like, I need to go to the hospital today. This is the last time I'm going to actually see my kids. This is the last time I'm going to see my wife again. And I just lost it.
Yeah, I bet.
It was horrifying. Before I did that, I decided to call a few friends who were physicians and said, hey, am I at that point that I need to go and get intubated and go to the hospital? And they walked me through kind of what I was feeling. They're like, you're kind of at the cusp. If it goes even a drop more, you need to go and check yourself in. And thank goodness, I was able to recover. I'm here, obviously, unlike, the 250,000 plus others who've died from this thing horribly. But it was a pretty terrible experience. And the big thing we were joking about, which is like everybody has like a sniffle and they're like, hey, do I have COVID? Yep. Well, what happens when you actually get it and when you get it bad, at least it happened to me and it's happened to other people I've talked to, is I still get sniffles. And now when I get my sniffle again, I'm thinking, oh no, it's back.
Yeah.
And that's like a serious PTSD. So we're all going through this crazy PTSD right now. Yeah. Like everybody's going through it. It's considerably worse for those people who've had it pretty bad. I'm just, hope everybody stays safe. And I'm excited that we've got so far 3 vaccines that are coming hopefully soon. And hopefully we'll get back to normal in the next year or so.
Yeah. Crazy, man.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah.
It's been a long 2 years since we last were here, but things are going well. We're in Hawaii. Life is all right now. So, despite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. What do you think, Dave?
I think this is a great indication of what the year 2020 has been for a lot of people, is a wake-up call. Nothing's guaranteed. there's been a ton of uncertainty. I don't think any of us have known from who was going to be president to what COVID-19 was going to do to the wildfires that were in California to are we going to have stimulus? Is the economy going into a recession? It's just been nonstop, not status as usual. And it's forced a lot of people who were in a comfort zone to be shaken out of it. And I think that being shaken out of your comfort zone, whether it's voluntarily or involuntarily, is usually a good thing. And it can be dangerous when you slip into one for too long. So while it's been an unpleasant year, it's also healthy in the way that exercise when you are out of shape is very unpleasant, but it's still really good for you. And so there is definitely a lot of scary things that we can take out of a story like that. But on the other end of that is what you talked about in your speech. Don't live your life according to other people's standards. Make sure you know what's really important to you and design your life to support what you want it to be. And this was a year that really brought a lot of the importance of that to the surface.
Yeah, I think it's great. And what I would add is I would plead to everybody listening to use this time, especially as this is about to come out. We're going back into lockdowns again, hardcore, right? Yeah. This is the third wave, so to speak. I don't know. Who knows what wave we're in? But take this time, take this opportunity to really evaluate your life. Take this opportunity to look at not just your career path, right? Because, you know, this is a real estate show. This is a show where we talk about careers, but every aspect of your life. Look at your friendships. Look at your family. Look at your relationship with your spouse or significant other. Look at how you behave around your kids, the time you spend with your kids, right? Look at your parents. You know, look at those folks. Look at your neighbors. Look at your community. And you know, I would, Brandon and I, one of the things that you've done for me, the most important thing you've done for me, besides, you know, this show and the frequent back rubs, is Brandon does this thing at the end of every year with Heather, where they evaluate kind of, they look forward, they look at the year ahead and talk about what they're planning to do. And then they look at, you know, they break their life down into various verticals, right? When he told me about that, I was blown away, and I started doing the same thing. And so I would just tell people, take this time to self-evaluate and really consider what's important to you, what's important to your family, and everything else is kind of noise. I mean, it really is. And then use that to dictate and shape the path that you want to take forward.
That was a good quick tip right there.
It wasn't so quick.
The long tip.
A lot of bruises got me there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, we need to have you back on the show more often, so come back anytime. It's the Sea Shed. You know where it's at. Yeah. We're like 6 blocks from each other now, so it's easy.
Awesome.
David Green, anything you want to close the show with?
Oh, that's a nice tall order after a show like this.
I know.
Well, now I got to figure out a way to move to Hawaii, because I don't like being the odd man out over here. The David Green team's going to have to.
The dark side.
Yeah, come hang out.
Exactly.
What you need is a good integrator, David, like somebody who can run your business in California that runs everything. That's like the best of the best. They run California for you, so you can come back and forth to Hawaii whenever you want or wherever else.
So he's saying hire your CEO.
Hire your CEO.
Your chairman of the board.
I need a CEO and a CFO. Yep. I need an integrator. If that's you, please contact me so that I can selfishly be in Hawaii with Brandon and Josh, frolicking in the waves and looking for whales on paddle boards. I will pay you handsomely.
Frolicking. I will pay you handsomely.
All right. Well, thank you, Josh, for joining us today.
Yeah. J.R. Dorkin on Twitter.
J.R. Dorkin.
At J.R. Dorkin on Twitter and JoshuaDorkin.com.
And of course, we did not talk a lot about real estate investing today, but Josh and I did write a real estate book, and it's called How to Invest in Real Estate.
It's a great book.
It is a great book, so you can pick that up wherever books are sold, including BiggerPockets.com/store. It is meant to be the book. We actually really could call it Start Here.
Yeah.
Because it was meant to be the book that people start with.
Yep.
So if you're starting with real estate and you're not exactly sure what niche to go and do,
should relaunch it as Start Here and see.
We could relaunch it and see how that does. You heard it here today. Start Here. You can buy it for $29.99. No, I think it's cheaper than that.
It's cheaper than that.
Yeah, it's much cheaper than that. It's a good book. All right, David Green, I'll let you take us out the way you usually do.
Thank you very much. This is David for Brandon, the Ocean Frolicker Turner, and Josh, the Godfather Dorkin, signing off.
You're listening to Bigger Pockets Radio, simplifying real estate for investors large and small. If you're here looking to learn about real estate investing without all the hype, you're in the right place. Stay tuned and be sure to join the millions of others who have benefited from BiggerPockets.com, your home for real estate investing online.